Welcome to the Dan Casper Show podcast, your chance to catch the full show anytime, anywhere. If you missed it live on the radio, no worries. We've got you covered with all the sports talk, opinions, interviews, and conversations from the show. From the Packers to the Brewers to the biggest stories in sports and around Wisconsin, it's all right here. This is the Dan Casper Show podcast. All right, fourth hour, kick it off right now on this St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Patrick's. Happy birthday to Digital again on our video streams. So appreciate you tuning in and making us a part of your St. Patrick's Day festivities. Be safe if you are spending the day doing you know what. So we're going to talk some more baseball coming up a little bit later on here. We'll get back to some more Brewers chat. World Baseball Classic. Continue to send me your predictions on that. So that's coming up. Also, final call for some Grind My Gears. Your choice of four to grind my gears. Your I'm not sayings, but I'm just sayings, and some of your confessions out there. So I want to kick off this hour going through Bill's piece, Bill Huber's piece, who's covered the Packers for years. And as he notes, there's 6 free agents still available who could start for the Packers. The Green Bay Packers coaches will talk until they're blue in the face about it's a competition at every position, but the reality is the starting lineup is pretty well set in stone. However, there are a few positions that could use reinforcements. Here are 6 veteran free agents at 4 positions who could find their way into the starting lineup for Week 1. Any of these names that I'm about to throw out there, any of them, would you co-sign, get excited, would like to see for Green Bay? What do you got? So the first one he says is, and this is a name that has been thrown out there by a few of you, Joey Bosa. With Micah Parsons unlikely to be ready for Week 1, projected starters are now Lucas Van Ness and Barron Sorrell. Even when Parsons is back on the field, the team will likely be cautious with his workload after he played more than 50 snaps in 9 of his 14 games last season. That makes defensive end a logical place for an addition. Bosa is a 5-time Pro Bowler who will turn 31 before training camp. Injuries limited him to 28 games from 2022 to 2024, but he played in 15 all-starts in his lone season with the Bills. While he only had 5 sacks, he led the NFL with 5 forced fumbles and his 9 tackles for losses since 2020. Of 87 edge defenders with at least 220 pass rushing opportunities, Bosa finished 20th in pass rush win rate, according to Pro Football Focus. Next up, Jadeveon Clowney. The first pick of the 2014 draft, Clowney has become something of a mercenary as he'll be playing for his 5th team in as many seasons. In 2025 with Dallas, he helped replace Micah Parsons with 8.5 sacks, 12 tackles for losses, 1 forced fumble, and 4 pass deflections in 13 games. Clowney is 33. Man, he's already 33. Was 13th in pass rush win rate and remains a stout run defender. Calais Campbell. At the end of last season, Goody signed Jordan Riley and Jonathan Ford in hopes of finding a big guy to add some toughness to the Green Bay's defensive line. Riley ended up tearing his Achilles. Ford performed well enough in his 2 games to merit a 1-year deal. The need remains, especially after the Packers traded Colby Wooden. Campbell is one of the best free agents on the market, even though he will turn 40 on September 1st. 8-time Pro Bowler, had 6.5 sacks and 9 tackles for losses in 2025. DJ Reader. Reader started all 17 games in 2025 and 32 of a possible 34 in his 2 seasons in Detroit. No sacks or tackles for losses last season, though the run defense was 0.13 yards per snap better when he was on the field. The 330-pounder will turn 32 before training camp. Age is a potential concern. His average tackle in 2024 was 1.6 yards down the field. In 2025, it was 2.7. But in a limited role, perhaps he could be an impact player. The lone offensive player, a tight end, Will Dissly from the Chargers. If the Packers were to sign a blocking tight end, he says, it wouldn't be as a full-time starter, but as a role player. Last season, following Tucker's torn ACL, Musgrave was the starter, but Fitzpatrick started 4 games because of his blocking. With Fitzpatrick coming off of a torn Achilles and unsigned, the Packers don't have a blocking tight end on the roster. It would be a useful role to take some of the stress off Kraft. Dissly caught 50 passes for 481 yards and 2 touchdowns for the Chargers, but only 11 passes for 97 yards. That was in 2024. 11 passes for 97 yards in 9 games in 2025. And then Marshawn Lattimore is the final one. Injuries have been a huge issue for both, and will factor, or have been a huge issue for him and will factor in their next contract. Lattimore, who will turn 30 in May, played in 7 games in 2022, 10 games in 2023, 9 games in 2024, and 9 games in 2025. He was pretty solid when he did play, though, with Sports Info Solutions charging him with a 45.8% catch rate in 2024 and 54.5% in 2025, with only 2 touchdowns allowed and 1 interception in those seasons. So, any of those? I'm still on the DJ Reader one as a rotational early down player. Calais Campbell, I'm still in on. I'd like that one too. I want some more. I wouldn't be opposed if the Bosa one. To me, it depends so much on money with this one. Like, these guys are just going to be 1-year deals. I feel like all these guys are just going to be 1-year deals. But how much? How much of that 1-year deal is going to be guaranteed? That's the big thing here. And Green Bay's got the space. I think what it's going to boil down to is the guaranteed money, how much it's going to cost, because they still want some money to do some extensions. But at the same time, too, does it affect the comp pick formula? Because from all indications, from all the experts out there, the 2027 draft is absolutely loaded. Loaded. So Green Bay, maybe like a lot of teams, trying to accumulate as many 2024 or 2027 picks as possible. They don't have a first-round pick, so they're trying to accumulate others in other possibilities. We know they're getting some decent comp picks in return for the free agents that they did lose. But are they willing to sign some of these free agents where it would take away some of their comp picks? Does that factor? I think it factors into it. I think there's a lot of factors in play here. It's how much money do some of these 1-year guys going to ask for or command for a 1-year deal? Will they still have enough to get some extensions done? And 3, does it affect the comp pick formula? Those are the three big ones. And then 4th, I'd probably throw injuries, because a lot of those guys that we just mentioned, injuries. Green Bay took a risk last year by bringing in Nate Hobbs, who had an injury history. Lasted 1 year. Does Green Bay take that risk again, or do they get a little gun shy? Because it wasn't that long ago when they splurged and signed Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith and Adrian Amos. Those were guys that played. They didn't have an injury history. They played. They played every game when Green Bay signed them. They didn't have that injury history. And then last year they kind of went away from that norm with the Nate Hobbs signing. Then you look at what happened with Aaron Banks, kind of up and down with some injury. Do they get a little gun shy? Maybe that takes away a guy like a Joey Bosa, a Marshawn Lattimore. So that's probably the 4th element that I would factor into that one. But for rotational players, not as full-time starters, I think you can make a case for a lot of those guys, if not all of those guys. But the other part is, are those guys going to be okay with a rotational role, a part-time role, a part-time starter role? Where are they at in their points in their career? Are they still about just cashing in and playing? They want rings, a chance to go get a ring. You know, do you sign for more money to go play for the Cardinals? Or do you sign for a little bit lesser money, maybe a little bit of a lesser role, but you join a team that's got a chance to go to the postseason and make a run in the postseason? That's where a lot of these veterans have to decide at this point in their careers, too. Obviously, they would love the best of the both worlds, a team that's going to pay them a lot of money, a team that's going to play them a lot, and potentially win a championship. That's not always the case, though. All right. Let's take a quick break. Plenty more to get to. Let's talk some baseball. Brewers World Baseball Classic. We'll hit that up. Coming up after these quick words. If you are in the market for a new or high-quality used vehicle, look no further than our good friends at Toyson Ford. They are proud to serve the drivers of the Chippewa Valley with some of the most popular vehicles around Wisconsin and the country. They're committed to giving our drivers in the region the best in customer service with a top-notch selection of brand-new vehicles to choose from, as well as an extensive inventory of pre-owned crossover SUV and trucks. The moment you step into their showroom, you're more than just a customer. You are an honored guest, and their only aim is to serve your needs to the fullest. So, again, if you're maybe using a little bit of that tax return to go get a new vehicle or a high-quality used vehicle, check them out today at 1000 Chippewa Crossing Boulevard in Chippewa Falls, or you can check them out online at toysonford.net. World Baseball Classic wraps up tonight. It's Team Venezuela versus Team USA. We're going to have a new defending champ. We're going to have a new champion. Japan won it a few years ago. Venezuela knocked them out. So it will either be Team USA or Team Venezuela. This should be a really fantastic one. And if you're just, Brewers-wise, hey, you got some Brewers connections to this thing, too, with Jackson Cheerio, Zerpa, and Contreras, and then on Team USA, it's Bryce Terang. So, I mean, there's been you look at a lot of these teams in the World Baseball Classic, there's been some Brewers connections all across the board. I mean, even with Team Italy with Fisher, who's, I think, really made a name for himself. And if you're a Brewers fan and you've been watching, the World Baseball Classic, how do you not get excited about Fisher potentially being the future third base? Yes, you got Brock Wilken, who's a power guy, too, so I'm all about the now and focusing on the team now, but man, what this spring training I think has shown, along with the World Baseball Classic, I think it has shown that this Brewers team has some really good young talented prospects. I mean, the sky is the limit for a lot of these guys. I don't think every single one of these guys is going to be playing for the Brewers. Long term, some may have to be traded because there's a logjam of options, and maybe you trade them for replenishing your farm system or getting more of an immediate need. But, I mean, you look at a Brock, you look at a Fisher over at third base, you look at the shortstops with Jet Williams, Jesus Mate, Cooper Pratt. I mean, there's not even talking about some of the younger pitchers that we are probably going to see this year. But that's one thing, too, that this World Baseball Classic in spring training, I think, has shown for me personally, for the Brewers, is, man, they got a lot of young, talented studs just kind of waiting in the wings here. And I'm excited to see it all play out. I mean, even like Tyler Black, Joey Ortiz, probably more of a better spring training than World Baseball Classic, but he was making plays and such too. But yeah, tip of the cap for a lot of these guys. But tonight's game between Team USA and Venezuela is going to be at 7:00 tonight. So we'll see who's going to take home the championship. USA getting the day off. Venezuela, quick turnaround after their win against Team Italy last night. So, but it should be a fantastic one. I think that atmosphere in Miami, it has been off the hook, as the kids would like to say. It has been lightning. It has been awesome, and I think it's going to be it's going to up it a notch tonight. There's some bragging rights. I think you're going to see a ton of emotion from both squads in tonight's game. If there's a big hit, if there's a big play, you're going to see all of that. You could tell this means a lot for these players. It means a lot for certain countries, too, representing their countries. Baseball's not in the Olympics. This is their opportunity to do so. I love this, and I think it's a great prelude to the regular season. Kind of mentioned it in the first hour. Spring training can be a long season. We talk about football and preseason, how they want to get rid of preseason games because they're like, blah. But, spring training in baseball can be long. From a fan perspective, at least for me, this has kind of been a nice filler because it's competitive baseball. It's been some really good baseball, and we're seeing some stud players out there playing at a high level. And then we get to opening day in the regular season when games matter next week. This World Baseball Classic is I'm not saying it's the best special sporting event or unique sporting event out there, taking away regular season and such, but I'm just saying it's one of the better postseason tournament, not postseason, but tournaments in all of sports. You factor in March Madness, you factor in the NFL playoffs, you factor in all these playoffs, the Olympics, the World Baseball Classic. I'm not saying it's the best, but I'm just saying it's one of the most entertaining. It's one of the best. It's still kind of new and fresh, but I think it's just going to get better and better and better if it continues. If baseball gets back to the Olympics, maybe this doesn't continue, but this has been awesome. And you put it in this time frame. We talk about what's the best sports month, what's the best sports time frame on the calendar. A lot of people go back and forth between March. I combine March and April, so Marple or October. Those kind of seem to be the two. You throw in the World Baseball Classic during this time frame every few years, man, it's hard to compete because NFL free agency, March Madness, which we have right now, World Baseball Classic, opening day, throw in the draft, throw in the end of the regular season, NBA playoffs, NHL, the Masters. You throw all that in there. There's so much as a sports fan to enjoy with this. If you haven't watched any of these games, do yourself a favor and do it. Do it. Do it tonight. It's your last chance. They've been awesome, and I've been really enjoying watching it with my kiddo too. So he's been really getting into it. Can't watch the whole game because bedtime and such, but really, really awesome. And I think it's gonna be another fantastic game tonight. So, but Brewers wise, yesterday, nearly a 4-hour game in spring training, 24 runs against the Dodgers. Went 3 hours and 54 minutes. And this was after the Brewers were losing 7-0 heading into the top of the fifth. They put up 10 runs in the top of that inning. Then another 9 in the top of the seventh. And just for some insurance runs, 5 more in the ninth. 24 runs, 16 hits. And one guy who had himself a day too was Lockridge. And Pat Murphy acknowledged, after the game too, that Lockridge, he could make the opening day roster. Hit a grand slam yesterday. That's his 4th home run in spring. And you look at the numbers he's been posting so far in 31 ABs. 4 home runs, 323 average, 462 on base, a 1.204 OPS. Now, those aren't going to be sustainable numbers, and all odds are that's not going to be sustainable for Brandon Lockridge. It very well could be, not to be a Debbie Downer, but it could very well be like a Vinny Capra situation last year where the dude is absolutely raking in spring training. You carry him on, and regular season kind of loses that touch, loses a little bit of that magic. And when you look at this Brewers roster, it's where are the openings? Can they afford to carry Blake Perkins and Lockridge on the roster? Can they carry both those guys? Because then where are you going to be short? They're not going to have just a bench of Bowers, Sanchez, Perkins, and Lockridge. They need another middle infielder guy. That's why Hamilton's going to make the team. Bowers is going to make the team as that primary backup first baseman. He can play some corner spots. He's a left-handed bat. Sanchez, we know, is going to make the team as the backup catcher. Hamilton's going to make it as a primary, backup infielder, middle infielder. So you've got like one more spot normally for that backup center fielder, or excuse me, for that backup outfielder. Do they go with Perkins, who they probably know a little bit more? You got a better feel of what you have with him. Lockridge came aboard last year halfway through. And I would say Perkins is the better defender. Lockridge is solid, but Perkins, I think, is the better defender. Do they go that route? Or do they go maybe with just a little bit more potential from the offensive side with Lockridge to try to tap into that magic that he may be having at the plate right now? Because I don't think you could carry both. Maybe they try to. And the thing is, we very well could just be making way too much about an opening day roster because it could change after the first game. It could change after the first week or the first couple weeks or even after the first series. We know that's going to be the case with the Brewers. And it's like that for baseball all across the landscape. Call-ups, call-downs. Guys are going to be shuffled around right after the first game. So maybe we're making a little bit of a big deal. But the other factor in this, too, is Perkins and Lockridge, I believe, only have one more option left. So you do have to factor that into it, too. But when we look at this Brewers roster, and I think a lot of jobs are kind of secured from a position player standpoint, that might be the last one. Lockridge or Perkins. Which route do they go? And then you kind of look at the pitching. Maybe there's a decision or two in terms of a bullpen arm or what. But ultimately, I think there's a lot of the decisions are already made. But Lockridge, there's no question he's making a late push. He's making a really late push here to make this ball club. And you got to tip your cap to him because he's doing exactly what he should be doing to try to make the ball club, making it a very difficult decision for Pat Murphy, Matt Arnold, and this Brewers team. All right, we'll take a quick break. Back with plenty more coming up after these quick words. Bucks are back in action tonight. They'll be taking on the Cleveland Cavaliers at 7 p.m. Coverage will begin at about 6:30 on Sports Talk 105.1 FM and 790 AM. Bucks, they're in some major trouble. They've got to go on an insane run right now, and they'd still need some help. They need whoever's beaten like the Charlotte Hornets here to just dominate the Hornets. It's not only just the Bucks have to take care of their business, which they do. They 100% have to take care of their business, but for crying out loud, they're going to need some help now too. So, but yesterday the NBA, there was a report that we may potentially see two more teams getting expanded, which probably no big surprise. We've been hearing about this for a while now, but it sounds like we're going to get a team in Seattle and Las Vegas. The league is, according to ESPN, the league is now barreling towards the addition of two teams, as ESPN reported Monday that next week's Board of Governors meeting will include a vote to explore adding Seattle and Las Vegas franchises beginning with the 2028-29 season. So maybe a return of the Seattle Supersonics. Las Vegas, I mean, everybody's gone there. The NFL, NHL, Major League Baseball with the A's. The NBA is kind of the last one. So it would make sense. So, but yeah, good old Seattle Supersonics days, man. That's one of those things too. Like we've seen it off and on. We've seen it in the NFL, like with the Colts and Baltimore Colts and Ravens and that. But let's say it's the Seattle Supersonics. Would they retain like that history because it's like the Thunder now, right? It's technically the Thunder. So I always like wondered, where does that history go? And actually that's on ESPN right now. That was one of the questions. They said, would Seattle be the Supersonics? Would it retain that franchise's pre-2008 history? Short answer, it says yes. The deal between Thunder ownership and the city of Seattle resolving a lawsuit over the team's arena lease and allowing it to move to Oklahoma City stipulated that the name Supersonics and all associated logos, colors, and trademark would be transferred to the owner of a new NBA team approved to play at a renovated Kia Arena at no cost. So, little fun nugget there. Thunder, however, do not hang any banners for the Supersonics in Oklahoma City, and in their media guide, they don't highlight any Seattle stats, listing, for example, Russell Westbrook as the team's all-time assist leader rather than Gary Payton. Sources said if a team was to return to Seattle, the Thunder would cede the Seattle history back to the Supersonics, just as the NBA's Charlotte Hornets reclaimed the Charlotte-era history of the New Orleans Pelicans when Charlotte regained the Hornets name in 2014. Good. As they should. Because there is this, like even with the NFL, I know he used the Baltimore one, but you got like the Tennessee Titans. See their new uniforms, kind of an old school color theme back to the Houston Oilers. And there's always been like, well, the Houston Texans, there's the Houston Oilers. I know there's been some back and forth when the Tennessee Titans were the Oilers throwbacks. It's like, but that's Houston, and the Texans, they're in Houston and such. So there's some bickering, and I get it. And you can make the case for both sides, but I get it. It does look weird when the Tennessee Titans are wearing Houston Oilers stuff, even though they technically were the Houston Oilers. They moved there, but then there is a team in Houston. I'm not going to dive into that, but you get the gist. So, but yeah, there we go. There's bringing back the 90s and the good old day of the Seattle Supersonics. As long as they bring back Bigfoot as the mascot, can't remember his name, but was it Sasquatch or something, or something like that? Squatchy. Got to bring him back. Got to bring back Gary Payton and Sean Kemp and Detlef Shrimp and all those Nate McMillan, Hersey Hawkins, George Karl. Bring all those guys back in the fray to open the new era of Seattle Supersonics basketball. So, but back to, hey, maybe in a couple of years, Giannis will be in that expansion draft. I'm kidding, kind of. You imagine? Wow. But there has been a lot of speculation over the last few years, too, with the Vegas franchise that LeBron would be an owner of that franchise or would want to be involved in that. Maybe as a part owner. I don't know if he could afford to be the full-time owner there, but as a part owner, as a major owner with that. And I wonder if that'd still be the case considering this timeline. If that gets approved, does that kind of give us the timeline of maybe when LeBron would call it a career and then kind of transition into that phase of his career, a la Tom Brady? I mean, you could have Brady and LeBron part owners of two franchises in Las Vegas, and it would just make it a bigger deal. I mean, right now, when you think about Raiders ownership, not asking diehard Raiders fans, because I think I know their answer, but for non-diehard Raiders fans, when you ask the question, who's the owner for the Raiders, I think you're going to have a lot of younger, just casual football fans might say Tom Brady. They just assume that Tom Brady is the owner. And he's part owner, but he's not the main owner. It's still Mark Davis. And it would be the same thing for if LeBron, let's say, got involved with this Vegas team. He may not be the full-on owner, but let's say he's kind of got like a shared interest, same level as Brady does with the Raiders. People are going to say, oh, LeBron James owns that team. I think eventually, yeah, LeBron's going to be involved in that. I don't know to how much of an extent and such, but I feel like even when he retires from the NBA, he ain't going to go away. He's not going to go off. He's not going to be, calling it a career and then you never hear from him again. He's probably going to be doing some production stuff, Hollywood, and Vegas, owning a team in that. Yeah, he's going to be involved in that. And I think there's a little bit of a competitiveness too because, Jordan tried it. Jordan was involved, ownership and such, and it didn't work. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit of that competitiveness from LeBron, the whole GOAT category debate between him and Jordan on who's the best of all time. If LeBron goes into ownership and he's able to win a championship as an owner, that's one notch on his belt over MJ, over Michael Jordan. I would be surprised if that's part of the thinking here. They're athletes. They're For his whole life, he's been a competitor and an athlete. That's all he probably knows is competition and competing at the highest level and winning and trying to win all the time. So that would be another element to that. So, all right. We got picks coming up. Last call for any picks. World Baseball Classic. You want to send over who you think, Team USA, Team Venezuela. Send those on over. All right. Also, final call for any grind my gears. Text them on over. Toyson Ford, grind my gears. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. And any last-second confessions. All right, you can send those on over if you'd like as well. So, all right, our final break, and then we're going to wrap up this Tuesday program. We'll be right back in just a couple minutes. All right, so wrapping it up here, we've got some picks before we close out this Tuesday program. Let's start off in the NHL world. Islanders taking on Toronto. Give me New York. Boston at Montreal. I'm going to go with Montreal. Carolina taking on Columbus. I'm going to go Carolina. The Wild taking on the Blackhawks. I feel like that's the two most popular teams here in our area. I'm going to go Minnesota. Nashville taking on Winnipeg. Give me the Jets. San Jose taking on the Edmonton Oilers. Give me Edmonton. Florida taking on Vancouver. I'm rolling with Florida. Buffalo and Vegas. Give me the Golden Knights. Tampa at Seattle. Come on, got to go with my Kraken. What else would you expect? Let's do some NBA games before we pick a couple college basketball games and then get to the World Baseball Classic. We've got Miami and Charlotte. Charlotte's favored by 3.5. Bucks, you need to win, and you need Miami to beat Charlotte. I'm going to go Miami wins, even though Charlotte is favored by 3.5. Oklahoma at Orlando. Give me the Thunder. Detroit at Washington. It's Detroit. Indy at New York. Give me the Knicks. Phoenix, Minnesota. Give me the Timberwolves. Philadelphia taking on Denver. It's the Nuggets. San Antonio hitting 50 wins. They're taking on Sacramento. Give me San Antonio. Cleveland at Milwaukee. Yeah, Cleveland. It's Cleveland. Men's college basketball, we've got a couple games. The first two games of the play-in for that tournament. Otherwise, we've got the NIT and such going on as well. UMBC taking on Howard. I'm going to go UMBC. Texas, NC State, give me Texas. I'm going to go with Texas in that one. So I'm just going to do those two. NIT got St. Thomas taking on Seattle. Let's go St. Thomas. Go with Tommies. Even though Seattle's favored by 2.5 in that one. I'll roll with St. Thomas. Why not? World Baseball Classic. Venezuela, Team USA. I got a feeling this might be an offensive game. I don't know. I don't know about the pitching. You know, sounds like United States. He's going to be going up, and they're going to be throwing Nolan McLean out there starting for Team USA. Youngster. He's only got like 8 games under his belt. Was the starter when they lost to Italy. So I'm a little bit nervous on that. Dude's talented. He's got some sick stuff. He's going to be a really, really, really good pitcher. But I'm a little bit nervous going up against, in this moment, against Venezuela. Then you look at Venezuela and some of their pitch. Man, there's going to be, I think this potentially could be like an offensive type of game, and I think that bodes well for Team Venezuela. My head says Venezuela. My heart says Team USA. I'm going to go Venezuela to win, even though I think USA has the advantage of having the off day yesterday, and Venezuela is going to do a back-to-back, but I'm going to go Team Venezuela. I think the momentum, I think the energy that they have, they're committed to saying they want this. They really, really want this championship. Not to say that Team USA doesn't, but man, if you've been watching any of these games, you could just tell like they really, really, really want this championship. They want it. And I think it'll be like, I'm going to go 6-4 Team Venezuela. pulls off the win tonight. So that's my pick. All right, coming your way tomorrow. It is Wednesday, so we'll do a little Inside the Hobby. Tyler from Slab Factory is going to be joining us for our Inside the Hobby segment. Also, with it being Wednesday, you've got, what else do we got here? We've got our Hy-Vee Game Changers coming up on tomorrow. So think about it from the last week or so. What are your game changers? Who are your game changers? Also, it is a Mike's Star Market. Am I wrong? Think about a sports opinion, a sports take, a sports thought that you have had where you would say, am I wrong? Am I wrong for thinking this? Am I wrong for saying that? All right, that's your homework assignment for tonight. Maybe we'll be talking about a Bucks victory over the Cavs. I'm not holding my breath on it, but maybe, just maybe, we'll be able to do that. We'll talk some more. We'll talk about the World Baseball Classic as that wraps up and such. I'll probably throw a little football talk in there too, and still talk some more college hoops as we get set for Thursday. I know we got these playing games tonight and tomorrow, but Thursday is when the rubber meets the road, and then we get really into the tournament and such. So, which is a reminder, don't forget, I'm going to keep hammering this home because I want as many as possible. I don't care if you're not a big college basketball fan. I want you to fill out the bracket so you can have a little bragging rights. I know we used to do the bottle cap challenge. I don't know if we want to do that again. Nobody's asked, so I don't know if we want to do that again. If you're not familiar with the bottle cap challenge, remember back in the day whenever you get like a bottle of Mountain Dew and you got a team, we could do that. Just ideally if we get 64, we'll do 64 teams or 64 people because it's kind of late now. We'll do like 64. In the past, we've always doubled up. Each person gets 2 teams, a top-tier team and a lower-tier team based off the rankings. So if we want, maybe we'll have a little fun. Maybe we can get that going. But if you're listening and you're like, yeah, let's do bottle cap challenge, let me know. All right. Then we'll probably do – well, we'd have to do that tomorrow too. So, but yeah, we'll talk plenty of college hoops. But get that bracket turned in by going to our website, sportstalk1051.com. Fan Cave tab, scroll down. I'm going to turn my bracket in shortly after I shut the mics off. I think I've got my Final Four set. So I'm just going to roll with it. Not going to overthink it anymore. Just going to run it in. And wipe my hands clean. Say, that's it. Not changing it. Not altering it. Not doing anything else with it. So, so that's on the docket as well tomorrow. Reminder, don't forget, Bucks are back on the docket tonight on the radio, right here on Sports Talk 105.1 and 790 AM. Coverage will begin at about 6:30. At about 6:30, got to listen to the radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM. No Brewers game is what I'm trying to get to. No Brewers game for the radio today. They'll be back on the radio coming your way tomorrow. When they take on the Angels, coverage will begin at 3 o'clock. Hopefully it's not another 4-hour game for a spring training game. But they'll be back on your radio dials coming your way tomorrow. And then just looking at the studio schedule here, we just got, counting tomorrow, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more spring training games. That's it. And then we're on to the regular season. Tomorrow, Thursday, Saturday, Monday, Tuesday. Be here before you know it. I'm ready. All right, shot clock is going to cut me off here in just a few seconds. So if you're out celebrating for St. Patrick's Day, be safe. Enjoy it. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. All right. Have a green beer for me, okay? Responsibly. Have a green one for me. All right. And then be ready to go tomorrow. Get the homework turned in for tomorrow.